He's hijacking the car. He's hijacking the car right now. Hey, drive off, man! Hey, drive off! Oh my God.
Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. What would you do in that situation? That actually happened over the weekend on the Dan Ryan Expressway, not exactly the greatest part of town, in Chicago. This is a short clip of the longer version of the video. I just showed you the important part, but yeah, and of course the rest of it is extremely foul language. But yeah, this is very possible, and you don't have to be on the south side of Chicago. You can be pretty much anywhere. What you don't see in the clip there is the guy who carjacks the person in the red car here has a assault rifle under his hoodie, okay? And you can see it in other parts of the video. This is where we've got to, okay? The whole video here is these people, the carjackers, had a stolen car, wrecked it on the highway, got in an accident, ran away from the wreck, were running down the highway, and eventually got tired of running and decided to go carjack another car. What would you do? Now, there's many problems with this video. The first one being that the guy with the video camera, obviously his phone, used his phone to video this and not to call 911, okay? Not that the cops would show up within a half an hour anyway, but at least he could give a description and a location rather than having the driver of the car, who is probably frazzled beyond belief, do it himself. Now, what would you do in this situation? As I look at this, you have the gunman who comes right in front of the car. Common sense would say, floor it and run over the guy. And when somebody says, you killed a man on the road, yeah, and he's got a rifle under his shirt and was carjacking me. Gee, I'm sorry, one less dirtbag in the south side of Chicago. I don't think you're going to have too many people complain, other than Kim Fox, okay? But he could be thinking of, gee, I don't want to be the next protest person and spend a year in court and everything like Kyle Rittenhouse or whatever, because, as you saw in there, or at least in the story you can find out, the driver was white, the gunman was black. Not saying it's a racial thing, but you know what I'm saying. If a white person goes after a black person, we have riots all over the country. If it's the other way around, it doesn't even make the 6 o'clock news. So, what do you do in this situation? Gentleman here decides the most prudent thing was to get out of the vehicle and save his life and give up his car. I'm not disagreeing, okay? Given the same situation, depending on who was in the car, okay, you know, if you got a baby in the car or you got your dogs in the car or something like that, run the SOB over, okay? If it's just you, hey, maybe get out, okay? That's probably the most prudent solution. The car can be replaced, you can't. We know how that one goes. But let's say you're in a little bit more difficult situation, all right? Do you have the ability to protect yourself? You could be a victim of crime anywhere you are, all right? This is on the highway, all right? 75 miles an hour, cars going by, and this guy pulls out a gun and stops a car. Why the guy stopped, I have no clue, because you can see there was that truck that drove right by him going at good speed. Notice also nobody helped the guy either. There's the other thing. You're on your own. Face it, okay? Situation like this happens, chances of somebody coming to your rescue, not good. All right, so you're on your own. So what do? Well, you get out of the car. You could floor it and run the guy over, okay? And hopefully he doesn't have the weapon trained on you and can get off a shot before he's a blood spot on the highway. The other thing is, do you have your sidearm with you? Which you should always have, okay? Even in this city, okay? You know, remember, Chicago's a gun-free zone, okay? I'm just pointing this out. Chicago's a gun-free zone. The criminals don't care, all right? You know, this guy's sporting a rifle. Fine. If you don't get pulled over, nobody knows the difference, so be it, okay? It's also a good video to have as evidence if, gee, sir, why do you have an illegal gun? Because of this? Okay. You know, maybe you could stand up and fight back. Make sure you are carrying at all times. You never know when you're going to need it. Murphy's Law will tell you this. The one time you need a weapon is when you left it on the kitchen counter and said, oh, gee, I'm only going to the grocery store. I don't need it. And that's when you have a melee at the store. A lot of people will talk about what to own, okay? A personal protection device, love the terms we have to use, is definitely a matter of choice, okay? And depending on what you want, that's up to you, okay? Are there better quality weapons than others? Yes, okay? That's fine. You know, you go play Dirty Harry and get your 45 or 44 Magnum out there and, you know, run around. But unless you want to carry, you know, a hand cannon, find something that fits you, that you're comfortable shooting, that you can shoot somewhere that is not the range where you can get your feet set and your shoulders square and your grip right, you know. Have something that under stress you can pull out and use, okay? That's convenient, that's size appropriate for your hands, for what your situations are, okay? I mean, I've got a couple of different 9mm. Mrs. P carries the 380. We've got the 22, you know, and God knows how many rifles, okay? But your chances are not carrying a rifle in a car, and it's not exactly going to be the easiest weapon to try to move around a rifle when you're sitting behind a steering wheel, all right? Handgun on a car. You're not going to walk into Walmart with one on your coat either. You might get a couple of views. But, yeah. So then the question comes into, when you're looking at what self-protection device, how can you feed it? All right? And this is what gets interesting, because ammo has been hit or miss here for the last 2 years. I mean, the prices have come down. I looked at prices this morning, you know, the other precious metal, brass, lead, okay? I looked at prices and availability and stuff like that for weaponry. 9mm ammunition, still very much available, no problem, okay? Though I can't get the ammo that I prefer, the MagTech, it's on back order with no idea of when it's coming back. Reason I like that, I rarely ever have a misfire. I mean, maybe 1 out of 500 rounds will misfire. Okay, I want something I can count on. Doesn't mean there aren't good ones. That's just one I found that works well. Okay. I'll have to try others. The interesting part is when I started looking at some of the rifle ammo. Okay. 5.56 and 2.23, yeah, pretty readily available. Prices have come down somewhere between, depending on if you're looking at 2.23 or 5.56, 50 to 60 cents a round. Still expensive, okay, comparatively. We were getting it for less than 20 cents a few years ago. Inflation hit ammo too, guys. I say this, okay. The one that's interesting, though, and I looked around, 7.62 is very hard to find. And I'm not talking, oh, gee, there's a ban on Russian ammo. Trust me, the Russians aren't the only ones making 7.62 ammo. They make a lot of steel case stuff, but that's not it. When you're choosing a weapon, think of the situations you are normally in. Okay. Obviously, home protection, you want to have a rifle of some sort, a shotgun, whatever it would be. But you're not going to be carrying that around the house with you. You know, the whole point of your handgun is the portability. In the house, your handgun is for use to get you to your rifle, okay? To allow you not to be a moving target, you know, where you can fire back, but to get to your rifle where then you can unload on somebody. A lot more rounds in my AR than in my pistols, okay? Even though I've got large capacity magazines. Gee, sorry, Joe, I do have those, and I ain't giving them up. But think of other situations you're in. You're in your car, you go to the store, you go to a restaurant, you know, you go to work, wherever it would be. Those are the places you're in half your life, okay? And remember, I mean, if you think about the average person, okay, very average, you spend 8 hours a day at work. You spend 8 hours a day sleeping, okay? You spend an hour a day commuting and an hour a day at lunch, okay? Add all those up, that's 18 hours. That means there's only 6 hours left of your day where you are at home doing something, all right? And bits and pieces, whether they are, you know, an hour or so in the morning, a few hours at night, 4 or 5 hours at night, okay? That's it. 6 hours a day out of those 24, you're going to have access to your rifle. The other, the other 18 hours a day, you better have a handgun nearby, especially if you're in a car. Because just because this is the south side of Chicago doesn't mean it can't happen on the east side of St. Louis, the east side of Dallas, hell, the north side of Poughkeepsie, for all I know. All right. You never know, especially in an SHTF situation. We're getting damn close to it, when you're going to need to protect yourself. Because if you think about an SHTF situation and all these people walking around trying to get where they're getting, and you have a car, you can guarantee this is going to happen a whole lot more. Pinball out.